Welcome back to
American Guy,
Chinese
Chinese girl.
Today, I'm getting to ask Shuang some questions, so we're changing it up. And today, we're talking about food, and specifically what it's like being Chinese in the U.S., trying to find food that can satisfy you, that can fill what you're looking for. It's different, and anybody that's lived abroad in different places, you've probably noticed that you miss the food where you came from, and it's not quite the same. The first question is just simply, why is Chinese food so important to you?
I lived almost my whole life. I wouldn't say all my whole life. I grew up in China. I lived, most of my life in China. So that's just what I'm used to, I grew up eating Chinese food. Yeah, I feel like people from any culture in the world probably are exactly like me. Like there may be very few people that they like, diversity of different, food from different culture. I'm sure I do in some way, but still, if you are talking about every day, the majority of the food I'm gonna go to, it's gonna be Chinese food. Just like my husband Noah, who is American and grew up in United States, what he eats every day is like steak plus pizza. I'm sure he likes some Chinese, but if you let him eat every single day, he will vomit.
Yeah. I don't eat pizza every day. But
that's Yamen diet.
No, it's not. I eat that sounds insane. But I do really, really like pizza. I definitely don't eat it every day. But so do you think, let me just ask a follow-up question. Do you think there's something that's sort of in the, biology of the food? Is it the ingredients? Does it trigger memories for you? Or is it something that's how it's nutritious to your body? Is it because it's familiar?
Yeah, it's just like what I just said. It's what you are used to, what you are accustomed to having. I'm sure let's say if you are Asian people, but you got adopted when you were a baby by, maybe Americans. And then if you grew up just used to eating classic American food, then that's what you are gonna, get used to. That's probably the food you want to eat when you grew up. Yeah.
The second question is, was it easy at first or hard or whatever it was to adjust to eating food that you like after moving to the U.S.?
For me, the answer is yes, it's pretty easy. That's because before I moved to U.S., I had experience of living in the U.K. I did my college years in the U.K., so I was already used to, living in the Western country and then try to maybe cook my own food and find the restaurant that I like. So yeah, it's pretty easy for me. Of course, UK and the US are not exactly the same. The things I like to eat in the UK, many things I can find in the groceries there, and some stuff I just can't find it here. So it's definitely different, but I would say it's still pretty easy since I learned how to really cook the food I like in the UK in my college years. Yeah.
Okay. What are some of your strategies for maintaining a more fulfilling diet in the U.S.?
Number one is definitely, you need to learn to cook, learn to cook the meals that you really enjoy. So for me, I already kind of mastered the skill of cooking while I was living in the UK, and my cooking skill just, slowly developed over the years. And of course, most of the dish I learned, are Chinese dish. And that's usually what I like to eat on the daily basis. And learn to cook is very important because not everybody can afford to go to the restaurant every day. Plus, even if you have the money to go to restaurant every day, it's still an effort to go to the restaurant, and then you don't really know if the restaurant have high quality food. You don't know what they put in your food. So learn to cook is the most important thing, to cook the food that you like. And the second one, for me, that is, I'm traveling a lot. That's why I totally take advantage of whenever I go to different cities or different cultures, just to try to go eat at a restaurant that I feel like I really enjoy. For me, I live in Charleston, South Carolina. It's not blessed with like a authentic Chinese restaurant. To be honest, I don't think there is even one authentic Chinese restaurant here. They do have some pretty authentic Asian food, Asian restaurant. But it's just not a big enough city to have really authentic Chinese restaurants. So whenever, for example, if I'm traveling to Orlando or New York, any of the bigger cities like LA or even somewhere West Coast, where there are lots of Chinese restaurants, I would definitely eat lots of yummy Chinese food while I was on the trip. And I think the third one I would say it's Trader Joe. Trader Joe actually have a lot of really amazing frozen food that's kind of like Asian, Chinese, sometimes maybe Korean style. You can buy frozen dumplings, frozen soup noodles. It's kind of this very easy, already prepared food that you can just put in the oven or put in a steamer to steam it, and then it's a pretty good meal, and the taste overall is pretty good. So if you don't really want to cook, I guess sometimes you can just opt for the frozen food in Trader Joe's. Yeah.
Okay.
And
go ahead. Sorry.
The other one would be Yummy Buy. Yummy Buy is this big online website. I think its main customer is just for North America, like US. I'm not sure if it serves Canada, but I believe so. So it's this big online Chinese grocery website where you can order, literally everything from sauces to like instant noodles. I like snail noodles, a bunch of things, or even really authentic Chinese snacks. So I definitely place order regularly with them, to get some food that my local Asian grocery doesn't have. Mm-hmm. Speaking of my local grocery, even Charleston is not a very big city. It still has an Asian grocery where I can get basically most of the supply, from fresh vegetables or, Chinese sauces. Yeah. So, yeah, I feel like it's definitely important for people who are not grew up in US, just try to find the grocery store that's from your own culture. Probably your city has it.
Most cities have it, and we mentioned too that the one here in Charleston is a pretty large one. A lot of times in cities that are kind of like Charleston size, you might not have one this big, but really most cities have one that's a sizable grocery store. And then even the ones that don't, there's still lots of smaller Asian grocery stores, so you could find ingredients.
So the last point I'm gonna say is, US it's a melting pot. It has lots of cultures, lots of different cuisines. So, there are some cuisines that's very similar to Chinese food that I feel like I enjoy. So, yeah, that's my last point, which is just to try to explore food from different culture. I'm sure there will be a thing or two or even more that you like. Yeah. And
that's actually the next question. So that's what are some specific dishes cooked by other cultures in the US that you really enjoy?
My staple go-to would be, I would say we discovered, because we went to Jamaica a few years ago, I actually tried, authentic Jamaican food there. And I would say Jamaican food or overall the Caribbean food, I just really enjoy. And we found some really authentic Jamaican restaurant, here in Charleston, in the city I live. To name some dishes, like Jamaican has really famous grilled chicken. I think like it's just jerk called jerk chicken. And then my favorite probably is stewed oxtail over rice. And they have some like rice and peas is just so yummy. Jamaican restaurant, they also serve, some stewed goat or some, stewed fish or even fried fish, which I enjoy a lot. So yeah, that's definitely a food I think I can constantly go back to and not really getting sick. Even if you let me eat 3 or 4 times a week, I think I would be fine with that, since it's very similar to Chinese food. And another food, I feel like US has many, Mexican restaurants, and I specifically like steak tacos, even though most of the US restaurants don't cook nearly as good as the ones we tried in Mexico. The real steak tacos from Mexico are just so good. I could eat it all day, every day. But it's sad you can't really find it. We haven't found the really authentic one in the US in all cities. But that's one thing I like. Also, we did find a really authentic Mexican food here, and I really like their menudo soup, which is I think, what's that part? It's a
beef tongue? Is it
beef belly? I think it's like a cut beef belly and stewed in a soup. It's just so yummy. It's like something I used to have in China, very similar to Chinese food. And just list a few, I really like Thai food, and there are always really authentic Thai restaurants. So that's a staple for us too. And I like Korean food. I feel like many city has really authentic Korean food. So, and what's that noodle soup pho from, how to spell that country? Vietnamese?
Vietnamese.
They have lots of food I like, especially the soup noodle pho. The beef pho is like the best. Also, there are some pretty good Japanese restaurants. You can never go wrong with, sushi or some miso soup. I like that too.
Okay, so as you guys can see, there's a lot that you can do to try to address that need for, getting back to the food that you're used to. Sean's given a lot of ideas for cooking, for where to get ingredients, also different cultural foods that can kind of be in the same ballpark or do something similar for you that your native foods do. Some of these foods, she's given a lot of foods that she likes, and now some of these foods might just be her particular taste. Sean has certain foods that she likes. But I think hopefully what you can see is there are a lot of foods that span, the variety of cultural offerings that are here in the United States that can satisfy in a similar way to your native food. The menudo soup, or some of these Caribbean dishes, or even the Korean, as she said, the Korean foods. And one other thing I wanted to say too is, as she mentioned earlier, that there aren't maybe many truly authentic Chinese foods here in Charleston or in a lot of different places throughout the U.S. Unfortunately, it does seem that a lot of the Chinese restaurants make a more Americanized version. However, there are some that you might find that they have a secret Chinese menu. And we found a few of those in different cities where if you ask for it, they might have dishes that they know how to cook that are more traditionally authentic.
Yeah, we had one in Charleston years ago, but it closed down. So sad.
Yep. All right, so with that, the last one is going to deviate a little bit. What are your favorite American foods? So if you can't find anything, American food isn't going to be the same as Chinese food. It's not going to satisfy like your native foods. But maybe there's some foods that the Chinese palate might like. What are some of those for you, Shuang?
Popeyes. Popeyes is a staple favorite. Of course, for health purpose, you should really dial back on the frequency you eat it. But for me, whenever we are doing road trips, I just like getting Popeyes. Their chicken wings or their chicken tenders or even sandwich, everything. I just like everything. So that's not very healthy one. Fast food, Popeyes. And Chick-fil-A is not too bad either, but I like Popeyes more. But I would say overall, I just like chicken tenders or chicken nuggets. The chicken nuggets from Chick-fil-A is pretty good. And sometimes I can even cook it at home. It's actually not very hard to cook. So I can even make my own. Another thing, I'm just talking about, classic American dish, I actually like shepherd pie. I really like shepherd pie. I first found out the shepherd pie through, all these frozen meals, in the grocery. I like meatloaf. So I think Noah's family, one time we were there for the holiday season. I think your mom, I'm not sure if your mom or we ordered from a restaurant. I just really like meatloaf with ketchup. It's really good. Overall, I think I like grilled food. So it's not really going to a restaurant, even if we grill food at home and it just give a nice flavor.
Are you talking about with the coals?
Yeah, with the coals, the grilled food. So I like even grilled chicken tastes pretty good. I always, one of my favorite meat is just lamb, and the grilled lamb is just delicious. And and then the grilled steak, of course, it's gonna be very good. And also, specifically to the south, to the region where we live, I actually really like the low country seafood boil, or you can call it shrimp boil. It's just a mix of, some seafood with some potatoes, sausages, and we found a really authentic restaurant with a really good price. And sometimes I just order that to eat too. And I also really like shrimp and grits. Yeah, I even learned from YouTube how to cook my own. And I think the one I cooked is even, I like mine more than any restaurants. Probably I made it more custom to my flavor. Yeah, so there are many things I feel like I definitely enjoy from American food too. Just not every day. Every day it's definitely gonna be Chinese food.
All right, so that's it. That's all of our questions about the food. And so we hope that this gives you some ideas if you're coming to visit the United States or you're living here for some period of time. If you feel like you're going to miss your food, that this gives you some ideas for how you can satisfy, that craving for what you're used to. And thank you guys for watching the video.
Yeah, we'll be back.
All right, see you guys.
See you next time. Bye.